Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to Let's Play Eclipse, New Dawn for the Galaxy. This is a quite sketchy digital version of a really good board game. This is available on Steam, but really this is more or less a port of an iOS game, which even then I'm not sure is available on phone. It might just be tablet. Based on the things I've read, the game was also quite buggy, at least at release. Based on the patch notes, it looks like most of the bugs have been resolved. At least I haven't noticed any bugs or any crashes or anything like that in my play. That being said, apparently the multiplayer is still pretty miserable. First of all, you have to create an online account with their specific service, and even then when you get in a game, there's no real good way to do a lot of good matchmaking, and it tends to disconnect you and whatever. So maybe not buy this for the multiplayer, but the single-player experience is quite fun. Actually, I suspect the hot seat is probably okay too if you're playing with a friend locally. That's probably also quite exceptional. So what is Eclipse New Dawn for the Galaxy? So as I said, it's a board game. It is a 4X board game. You are exploring, expanding, exploiting, and exterminating people. You are vying for control of the galaxy over a series of 9 rounds. Now, Eclipse often gets paired up with in discussion with Twilight Imperium. Twilight Imperium is considered to be one of the greatest board games that there is in terms of a 4X sort of diplomacy and research and just fantastic race to control the galaxy. However, Twilight Imperium is also known to be extremely complex and a very slow game to play. You are looking at something like anywhere from 1 to 2 hours per player to play Twilight Imperium, depending on how quickly people are and how experienced they are, which means on a full 6-player game of Twilight Imperium, you might find yourself playing for 8, 10, maybe even 12 hours to finish one session. Eclipse is known to be a fair bit simpler. I mean, not simple, but simpler, as well as a fair bit faster. That being said, in a 6-player game, you might still be looking at 5 or 6 hours to finish things up, especially if some of the players are newer or more deliberate. That being said, it's going to be a little faster here in the single-player version because while we do have to wait for the AI to take their turns and for those animations to play out, it's certainly nowhere as close to waiting for an actual player. So let's go ahead and get ourselves started here. You'll notice there's no load button, you can't save the game. It just, whatever game you have in progress, that automatically gets basically saved every turn, and you can resume it if you shut down for some reason. That's about it. So we'll start a new local game. You can play up to 6 players here. I'm going to play 4 just to keep it a little tighter. There are a couple options that you can change. I'm going to have the automatic combat. No, I'll turn it off. I have been playing with the automatic combat resolution because it seems mostly fine and it's just faster and was less finicky for me, but I probably should have it on manual if we're going to be making it a 4 serious attempt to win this. Also, it does give you the option to ban plasma missiles, which we will talk about once we're in there, but they are considered to be very powerful. If you do play the actual board game in person, plasma missiles are very powerful. There's an expansion to the game that gives you a few different ways to deal with them. That being said, there are ways to deal with them in the game as well, and that's going to be one of the things we talk about. So I'm trying to decide what kind of setup we should go with here. There are, in the base game, there are a number of races. I believe there are 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 race cards, basically. On the right-hand side here, so in the physical version of the game, there are 6 race cards. On one side is these aliens, and on the other side are these humans. Every one of these human factions are the same, and the game does recommend that on your first go, you should definitely, probably all, in fact, play human. It gives you an even playing field. Also, because of the way the human mechanics work, they tend to be fairly good for new players. One of their abilities is the ability, there are 3 resources in the game. There's money, science, and material. Material is used to build buildings, or build ships mostly. Science is used to unlock technologies, and money is basically used to upkeep your entire empire. And you can trade from one resource to another. Most races trade, you have to sacrifice 3 of one resource to get one of another. Humans can do it 2 for 1, which gives them a lot more flexibility. And as a new player who may not be able to optimize their empire in a balanced way, that can help to alleviate a lot of issues. Although as you get better at the game, you do tend to want to trade your resources less often or convert your resources less often because ultimately you are losing out resources, right, by doing this. But 2 to 1 is certainly better than 3 to 1. In fact, there's one of the races that does it at a 4 to 1 ratio, which is absolutely miserable. Humans also start with the ability to build star bases, which not everyone does. They actually start with a really good starting system, and one of their special things is that when they take the move action, they can take the move action 3 times for the cost of 1, as opposed to most races can only move twice for the cost of 1. So the humans tend to be very flexible, but also this actually helps them both defending a large empire, but also being aggressive just because of their mobility here. So it is a good balanced race, and I think we might go ahead and do that. I don't know if I want to do all humans or what. We could showcase a few different things. Let's see. You know what? Maybe we should go all Terran, just for a good baseline experience. So we'll go ahead and do that, but I will take a moment and discuss some of these other races and what they've got going with them. Draco are quite odd. There are these ancient aliens all over the place in this galaxy, and the Draco are very happy to share the territory with the ancient aliens. That means they can't attack those hexes, and they can't get some of the resources from having attacked some of these ancient aliens, but they can cohabitate with them, which allows them to expand a little easier early on. But there's pros and cons to that. We've got also the Eridani, who are probably the least friendly for new players. They're very bizarre. They start with a crap ton of money. You can see here they start with 26 money. However, they have fewer influence discs to place, which means they're going to be spending a lot more upkeep for everything. So it's very easy to crash your economy as these guys if you don't know what you're doing. We've got the Hydron are actually very cool, and one of my favorites probably. One of their things is that they start with the technology. They don't start with the star-based technology, but they do start with the ability to colonize advanced science worlds, which means that they have an easier time just sort of colonizing more stuff, but they will generally get a lot more science over the course of the game. Not only that, but when they research, they can actually get 2 technologies per action instead of just 1. They still have to pay for both, but it is really, really, really strong. I think they can store less victory points, though, which is kind of interesting. We'll talk about more of that stuff going on. Who else we got? We've got the Mechanima, who build things faster and cheaper. Normally, when you take the build action, you can build up to 2 ships. They can build up to 3, and their ships are all cheaper, which is really substantial. The Orions. The Orions are big, heavy, like fighter types. Most people start with an interceptor, a very small ship. They actually get to start with a cruiser. They also start with the neutron bomb and Gauss shield technology, which are both good military technology, but they trade at a really kind of a poop-tastic kind of rate over here. Who else we got left? What? One more? One more. The Planta. Planta are very powerful, especially sort of like a turtling kind of strategy, because their big deal is that when they explore, they get to explore 2 systems for the price of 1, which is really powerful. They also get 1 victory point at the end of the game for every controlled sector. So they'd be quite happy to just turtle up behind 1 choke point and then expand way past that. So we're going to go ahead and just go with all Terrans over here. So we'll get the Terran Republic there. So all Terrans. The downside is, they are going to have slightly different names over here, so that's going to be okay. Hopefully that's what they're going to be referred to in-game. All right, let's go ahead and get things started over here. All human game, we're going to be well balanced. So the game is played out over 9 rounds. The first few rounds tend to go very quickly, and later on they do tend to take a little bit longer because you've got a lot more stuff going on. You can see our players here. You can see our current total of points. And yeah, we're all going to be referred to as Terran, which is slightly annoying. I wonder if I'd renamed them to a shorter name. I could have called these red, white, and yellow, but that's okay. We'll see their color in game. That's going to be okay. And we get a set of random technologies available this round, so we're going to see that. Now, it looks like I'm going to be playing second, so the Terran Directorate is going to start with their turn. They actually did a little bit of conversion of points. I think they converted money to science, and then they went ahead and researched some science. So now it should be my turn, and we'll look at all the different options that are available. So here is me. On my turn, I get to take 1 action. Now, the most powerful feature of this game is actually not really illustrated that well in the digital version, which is why I'm going to go ahead and show you. Boom. A screenshot I took from Wikipedia. There's an image I took from Wikipedia showing an active game of the real Eclipse board game. And the real power of the game is this. The way you take all actions on your turn is you have these influence discs over here, right? Whoa, zoomed out too far. Let me bring that back up. Each one of these discs is an action that you can take. If you've ever played a worker placement game, or something like, what am I thinking? Like Agricola and Caverna are really good examples of that, or anything like that. You might be used to the idea that what you do is you take one of these things, one of your action pucks, I suppose, or tokens, and then you place it somewhere. In this case, these are the set of actions you can take on this track of 6. So if you want to take the explore action, which is right over here, you would take this disc off and place it right over here. And that's how you take the explore action on your side. Now the question becomes, how many actions can you take during a round? Like, you take one action on your turn, and then you goes to the next person, and it keeps going around and around, and at some point the round ends. But how many actions can you take in a round? Well, the answer is really you can take as many as you want, with a huge caveat. As you uncover more of this track, you can see these numbers. I realize they're fuzzy at this resolution, but you can see 0, 0, then it goes -1, -2, and the negative numbers keeps going up. And in fact, if we switch back over to Eclipse, you can see that influence track here. 0, 0, -1, -2, -3, -5, -7, -10 starts to go up. This is how much money you are going to have to spend at the end of your turn. If you don't have enough money to spend to pay this off, you are considered to have gone bankrupt, and then, well, things will happen. Inside the game here, it's nicely color-coded to show me that based on my current money, I have 2 money banked, and I have a current income of 3 per turn, and you do get your income sort of first, so it means I'm going to have 5 money to spend at the end of my turn here, and you can see that the yellow square here is -5. This will tell me if I spend this much influence, I will be broke, but fine. If I go beyond that, I will hit bankruptcy. But that is the real strength of this game, and the real crazy thing is not only are you spending these discs to take actions, like the research action there, but that's actually how you expand. For every system that you want to have within your empire, you have to put an influence disc on them. So you can see that this player here, right? This player here in front of us has 4 discs missing. One of them was used to take an action, but the other 3 are used to control his territory. So the more territory you control, so as you continue to expand, for example, the more influence discs will be locked up by just holding that territory, which means you will have to be spending upkeep to maintain that, as well as really having fewer actions available for building ships, researching things, so on and so forth. So I think that's a really, really, really fantastic mechanic. I love the physicality in real life of these discs being used to control territory and take your actions and then show you the cost. It's a little hidden in the digital version over here, but it does sort of affect what you can do. Okay, so let's talk about these 5 actions. I talked about exploring briefly. If I take the explore action, which I probably will take first, but we'll hold off here, it allows me to choose one of these hexes around my current territory. Basically, I think anything adjacent to where I have a ship or a controlled sector. I can take the explore action, and I will pick a hex tile from the pile of them in the game, basically, and I will be able to look at it and decide if I want to play that tile down or just discard it. If you discard it, that's the end of your turn, so it's not very good to do, but sometimes you may want to do it. If you decide that you want to keep it, you play it in the position that you chose, and it'll have extra planets or a variety of different things. So, and right now I'm quite isolated here. These little circles at the corner of our borders, these represent wormhole junctions. These are the only ways you can travel, so I can't actually travel basically directly north from where I am over here. That would be a no-go. So that's that. The influence action, well, we'll talk about later on, but it lets us basically remove influence discs from systems or put influence discs on systems that, again, are adjacent to your territory or where you have a ship, I believe. It also refreshes your colony ships. We'll look at that. This is the research button over here, which I will click now. Now, currently, I have 3 research points banked. I will get 3 more at the end of my turn. And as we were told at the beginning of the round, a certain number of technologies were made available. If I look at the research track over here, you can see the number. These are all the technologies that are currently available. There are 2 copies of this, 2 copies of this, 1 of a variety of other things, and many others that haven't been drawn out of the technology bag yet. A random set of technologies will be added to this track every turn. The pink numbers below it is the cost of the item in research points. So this is the improved hull over here, which would cost 4 research points to research. Now the second number, now this is the number on the left is the current cost of this item. The number on the right is the minimum cost, which means right now, this over here, the quantum grid, would currently cost me 16 research points, but could get as cheap as 8. How does a technology get cheaper? Well, this is the global research track. These are all the researches available. Technology track here is the technology that I myself own. As a human player, all I did is start with the star-based technology, but there are 3 different categories of technology over here. They have various names for various reasons, but The important thing is that for every technology you have in one of these categories, you will get a 1-point discount for purchasing more techs of that category. Additionally, you can see these little shields over here. These are victory points. The winner of the game ultimately is the person with the most victory points. We all have 3 victory points from controlling our capital system to start off with, but there's a lot of other ways to get points going forward. So if I hit this research button, if I use that as my action, it'll highlight the ones that are available. Now, I actually very much like the neutron bombs here. Basically, they let you nuke an entire system of, cleanse it of all enemy population, which is very, very, very powerful and nice to have. That being said, I'm wondering, I will really, really want improved hull. It's such an important early tech. I don't know if it's worth rushing this thing, especially since there are currently 2 available. I will probably want neutron bombs, but I may go ahead and skip it on this turn and see what options really become available next time. Some of these things are weapons, some of these things are shields, some of these things are better targeting computers, better power sources, and the ability to colonize different types of planets, and a variety of other things. Something that will probably tempt you right away is these are my ships over here: Interceptor, Cruiser, Dreadnought, and Starbase. Everyone has access to these different classes of ships, although not all races start with the ability to build Starbases. You can also see they have various slots for items over here. These are technologies. If I were to unlock the improved hull technology, I would be able to slot that into my ships in a large variety of different configurations. You can build very aggressive ships, very tanky ships. You can build things that are focused around missiles. You've got a lot of different approaches. Now, not all of these technologies slot themselves into ships. For example, the neutron bomb is actually a global upgrade, for example, not a ship component. And so that can be a little bit confusing. I think all the ship components are the things with the little dot icon in the bottom left corner here. These are all things that can lead to ship upgrades. I'm going to go ahead and start off with just exploring, because my hope is to find a half-decent system quite early on that we can work with. Now, when you explore... Oh yeah, this is my homeworld. When you explore... there are basically 3 different areas in terms of sectors. There's the inner ring, which is literally adjacent to the center area here, which is controlled by an ancient AI that you can defeat. It's a really good system with a lot of slots for population and stuff like that. So these inner sector ones tend to be very rich. There's a high chance that they will be guarded by ancient ships, ancient robotic ships that you have to defeat before you go and claim those sectors. Now, that's not always bad. And the reason I say that is because... those systems tend to be better. They also tend to have some sort of ancient artifact that can give you a really good bonus, which is very nice. The outer sector ones are the ones that the most number of cards exist for. They tend to be a lot sort of wimpier, not as much stuff going on, but they also tend to be uninhabited a lot more frequently, and so it can be a little easier for early expansion. And then you've got the middle sectors, which is sort of, well, in the middle. I think I'm going to start with the middle sector over here, and I think at first round, I'm really kind of hoping that it's completely empty. All right, so here's the tile I drew. It has no aliens guarding it, which... pros and cons. It's only worth 1 victory point, which is not very valuable. And it's got 2 planets in there. 2's acceptable, 1's pretty poor, but it's really nice when you can get 3 planets, or even if it's only got 2 planets, maybe with an extra slot. This has only got slots for 2 population, but you know what? This planet here will give me money. This planet here will give me materials. I mean, I'm going to keep it. If I reject it, it means I do nothing on my turn. So I'm going to go ahead and keep it. Then I get to rotate the tile around. The only rule here is I can't place it if there's no wormhole connection. I have to make sure this gets rotated in such a way that there is a full wormhole connection of some kind. But then I have to choose how I want the rest of it to be oriented. I have a neighbor over here, and of course there's the inner circle over here. If I go with this configuration, I'm moving towards this neighbor, also open up a potential second avenue for an inner planet. That's not bad. If I did something like this might be a little more defensive. This is just going to lead to the same system as here, so I'm not really opening up a lot of options, but it might not be bad. If I do this, then none of these connections are inland, but I still have 2 available for the outside. This actually leads to maybe something that's a little bit more choke pointy and more defensive-y, right? If I do something like this could be a lot more space that I have to worry about. I think I'm going to go ahead and do this. It's a little bit sort of passive, but I think it's going to be okay. We'll do this. I think my next exploration will be this inner system, and then we'll probably look mostly at outer systems for a little while. So I'm going to go ahead and place it there. Next, you have the option whether you want to influence this system or not. In the digital version, this little symbol here, this is my flag. Because we're all humans, we'll all have the hand symbol with a different color. All the alien factions have a different symbol built into them. but this means that this system would be coming under my control. And look at the influence track as I toggle this on and off. You know, whether I put an influence disk or not is determined by that. But I'm going to go ahead and take the system. It's not worth a lot of victory points, but it's going to start our, our economy going. Then you have 3 colony ships available each round. These don't take an action to use. You basically just flip. In real life, you would flip this token over to symbolize that you are colonizing a planet, and you would put one of your units of population on here. Again, in the real life version, which is over here, these are your potential population. These are the people who can colonize space. And whenever you colonize a planet, what you're doing is you're taking one of these cubes and putting it on the actual planet token over there. And as you uncover more of these 3 tracks over here, that's what determines your income, your science, and your materials. In our case here, whoops, make sure that's going over. I mean, we're not moving those tokens, but the same thing is true. We're going to go and colonize one of these planets. So this is going to be colonizing a money planet. So that's going to increase my income. Note that at first, going from 2 money population to 3 money population just increased my income by 1. But later on, it'll increase it by 2 per tick and actually get more and more and more and more. This here is going to be my materials. Materials are used to build ships mostly. So we're going to go ahead and grab those 2. That's fine. That's the end of my turn, so we'll go ahead and slide that over. That slide feature is a little bit odd for PC, but again, thinking about its mobile roots, it kind of makes some sense. So the White Terrans are deciding to research. I think they converted some of their resources so that they could buy the improved hull right away, which actually a very strong move and maybe something I should have considered. Here's someone who is buying the neutron bombs. Again, a very good early technology. And usually what you want to do with the start of your turn before the technologies get taken is you do want to buy those techs. But I'm gambling a little bit that there's going to be something good. Okay, so here, these Terrans uncovered, see this question mark here? They uncovered a system and took control over something that had an artifact. All artifacts are basically you pull a random token out of a bag again. All of them on one side have 2 victory points, and on the other side tend to have either bonus resources or a ancient technology. You have to choose which of the 2 you are accepting. Either you accept the 2 victory points, or instead of the victory points, you choose the resources or the technology. And hopefully we'll get some of that myself to talk about at some point. What you take is going to depend a lot on situations. Generally speaking, the victory points tend to be overall slightly better in practice, unless you know that, if I get this, it will allow me to do this, which should, lead me to earn 3 or 4 more bonus victory points than the other way around. So, you gotta play it a little smart that way. But if you're not sure if something's going to help you that strongly, don't be afraid to take the victory points. They are quite good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do some more exploration here. And I did want to go and check the intersector. So there's a 50-50 chance that we will get an alien defending this. But that's not always bad. Okay, so that is the case, but this system here has 3 planets, which is really nice. It does have the artifact. All the systems defended by an ancient whatever have an artifact over here. So we're going to keep that, and again, we have to decide how we want to place things. I do want a connection to the center. I know that for sure. I think I might go ahead and do this. So this is connected to my home world. I have to do this. This is connected to the center, which I want. This gives me another connection, possibly to an inner system, but this remains my current choke point. I only have to worry about defending this one here going forward, and it gives me another connection to a middle zone there that actually can't connect over here. So again, if I'm thinking about turtling and choke points, this is very good. Although if I want to play super aggressive, then maybe something else. All right, so we're going to go ahead and place that there. I can't control the system. I can't take over the system because it's controlled by ancients, so that will be the end of my turn. Now, these ancients are not that tough. It's actually not that difficult to go and overcome them, and if you do, you get a great system. Now, there's a bit of a catch in this system. This, you see how it's got a little dot here? So this orange planet is a money planet, but it's got a little dot in it, which means you need the advanced technology to colonize this planet. I can't do it on my own. So really, this is, ooh, that's interesting. Really, this only has 2 planets in it. On the bright side, this planet here that's white, I can put any type of population on here, so I get to choose if I want money, science, or materials. Now, what I said was interesting, is that the red Terrans over here have come close to me, right? They decided to expand this way. We are now in contact, which means we could theoretically invade each other quite easily. But because there's a direct path from our capital to the other capital through no one else's territory or anything like that, we can actually set up a relationship. We can set up a diplomatic relationship over here. If we do that, so this is asking if I want to offer it, because I think I hit the button. I don't know if he sent it or not. In the game, it's a little unclear, the UI. I think it just auto-prompts this every turn. If we accept, then first what we do is we exchange these ambassador tokens, which are worth 1 victory point at the end of the game. Now, this little diplomacy bar here, each one of these slots can only fit 1 sort of token in them that will give you a certain amount of points. Humans have 4 slots that can be used either for a diplomatic relationship or a victory point card from, I think from the ancient technology. I think those go in here, but as well as tokens from winning battles. But the humans also have 1 spot that is dedicated only to some sort of ambassador deal over here. So the question is, how do I feel about my red neighbors? Do I want to challenge them or not? The other bonus to exchanging one of these tokens, in addition to the victory point, although if you have a lot of them, then you might not get as many victory points as you could from other things, is that you also get to exchange 1 unit of population, which means I could give myself +1 money per turn, +1 science per turn, or +1 material per turn, which is very tempting to consider. Now, what's the downside to this? Well, one of the downsides is this is basically a non-aggression pact. If I move my units, if I move a single ship inside of one of their territory, then I have broken our pact, which cancels this diplomatic exchange, as well as giving me the traitor card. This labels me as a traitor and is worth -2 victory points at the end of the game. However, there is only 1 traitor card, so if I break the relationship and then someone later on breaks another relationship, then they will take that traitor card away from me and everyone will sort of forgive my sins. So whether or not this is a good idea, I'm not sure. I could decide to actually like rush to this guy's territory. That's a possibility, although I don't have a military tech yet. I think I will go ahead and do this. And what I'm actually tempted to do is grabbing the green icon over here, because right now, if nothing else changes, actually I don't know those are my stats or his stats. It is my turn, so these are probably my stats here. Right now I'm going to have 7 material next turn. I have 3 in the bank, and I can get 4 more. If I got 1 extra material, that would actually bring me from +4 to +6. That would actually bring me to 9. But a dreadnought costs 8. And I don't tend to like to use a build action for only 1 ship, but a dreadnought this early on should allow me to do a really good job of clearing aliens, which I'm kind of tempted to do for this next system, plus whatever others I find. On the other hand, I could just get some extra science too. I'm going to go and take the deal, or you could take more money so that I can basically play with more influence discs. Also very, very good. I'll take the material, because that will ensure that I can get a dreadnought, or I suppose a cruiser plus an interceptor next turn. Okay, so it is properly my turn now, and let's see. I can have 2 more influence discs out there. I think what I'm going to do, I'm not going to build this turn, and I am not researching. Upgrade is how you actually implement new technology changes on your ships. I think what I'm going to do is explore, and I'm going to hope to get a decent empty system. So I'll use 1 influence disc to do the explore actions, and then hopefully use my final influence disc to actually claim that system if all goes well. I have to do an outer section, or an outer, outer system over here. What I think I'm going to do is do this one, and I'm just going to hope to cut off this path over here. No, I already own this system, never mind. It's this, so okay, so this is already my choke point. Alright, I think I'll still do this one. I can't cut it off because it has to connect. That's actually pretty lucky, I have to say, for an outer system. It's got 2 planets. Oh, this is an advanced planet, but this one is flexible. It's only worth 1 victory point. I mean, I'm not going to discard it. I guess I'll go this way. No, sorry, this way, because it will give me more exploration options, and it shouldn't lead to another back door over here. I'm going to do it. I may as well go and settle it. Now, technically, so I'm going to have 6 credits. If I did go, so I'm taking this. That's fine. It's going to ask me to colonize this planet. If I went and took energy over here, that would actually put me to +6 energy per turn, which would bring me a total of 8, which would let me use 1 extra influence disc. But I think what might be better is either science or more material. If I took more material, that would bring me to the +8 over here, which would give me enough to build a dreadnought and 1 fighter, which makes me feel a lot more sort of efficient about my actions next turn. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and really try to build a little bit of military early on. Oops, I toggled that accidentally, so get the material again. Yeah, no colonization ship left. And I was like, what happened? But I was misreading it. So yeah, I used 2 colonization ships here, and then 1 over here. So that'll be the end of the turn, and most likely next time my turn comes up, I will likely pass. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So exploration and colonization going over here. He gets 2 planets and 2 victory points, which is very nice. Orange is exploring, found an alien. Good system, though. 2 colonizable planets plus 1 advanced one. The red Terrans are... he passed. Although that should be okay. All right, so the deal is the first person who passes... basically, well, literally does nothing on their turn, right? Just take a pass action. The first person who passes becomes the first player next round, which means they get first crack at buying the fresh pool of research that has come up. It's very, very, very powerful. But assuming I'm reading the turn order correctly, it should be okay. I should be going second here, which is still going to be perfectly fine. So I am just going to go ahead and pass as well. And then the other guys still get to take actions. Now, I don't know if we'll see this. Okay, white has passed. Is orange going to pass? No, they're going to do one more exploration action. Very interesting, which will give me a chance to talk about the reaction action. So they have gone and explored. They're colonizing a bit more. Oh, if I hit shift, we'll get a nice highlight on systems here, which is much, much easier to read and see who controls what. Okay, so it's my turn again. You're going to say, why am I having a turn? I passed. Well, until everyone passed, the turns keep going around and around, but I have a different pool of actions I can take now. I only have a choice of one of 3 reaction actions now because I have passed. In the physical version, you have a card that shows you all the actions you can take. You actually flip it upside down when you pass. A is a symbol that you've passed, and B, it shows you your new actions. The only thing I can do now is move a ship, build a ship, or upgrade a ship. And these are weaker than the normal version. They still cost me an influence disc to use, but they only do half as much. Normally I'd be able to move twice. That's the way I only move once. Normally I'd be able to build up to 2 ships. Here I can only build 1. I'd be able to upgrade 2 ship systems. Now I can only do 1 as well. So these are considerably weaker, but they mean you can still react to someone's offensive move after you have passed. So I'm just going to pass again. White has already passed before, so almost certainly that's all he's going to do. And orange is probably out of options now and is almost certainly going to pass, which now ends the round completely. Red does get 1 last chance to finish their turn because I think they were the last player before. Oh, I think red had some bankruptcy issues. Yes, that's actually exactly what happened. So we haven't talked about what's the deal with bankruptcy. But basically, if you don't have enough to pay for everything, right? Like, let's say I had used all the way up to this red -7. This is not my influence track, but let's pretend, right? So in red, I wouldn't be able to afford it. What I would have to do is pick up one of my influence discs from one of my systems and put it back on my track. That would have meant, again, if you think about how the physical version works, I'm going to sneeze. Would have meant that I would have less upkeep to pay. Plus, technically, I'd get one of my influence tokens back to maybe do something else. Sorry, I'm not actually showing you the screen, am I? There we go. So I would take one of my influence tokens off this system here, put it back on my track, which would decrease my upkeep. So, that's actually kind of a powerful move. This system here that red controlled a moment ago is actually mostly worthless. It has no planets whatsoever, and it's only worth 1 victory point. But red took it under his influence at the time because it actually had an alien artifact. You have to take it under your influence to claim the artifact, and then after that, you kind of want to strategically go bankrupt so you can give up the system. You can also take the influence action, which lets you remove discs from systems, but this is kind of easier because it doesn't require you to use an action if you can sort of optimize your bankruptcy just right. It's a very legitimate move in the game, a very powerful one as well. Okay, we're going to go and take a look at the research screen here. Okay, so there's not another neutron bomb, and there's not another improved hull, which is really kind of miserable. There are plasma cannons, which are quite a bit more damaging than the base weapon, although they use more energy. We're going to talk about ship design soon. There's also a fusion source over here, which gives us more energy. There's only one of those. I'm actually wondering about grabbing that. It's not a bad idea. Because if I can grab this and then next turn, if I can somehow get an extra couple of research points, which seems a bit unlikely, although maybe I can swap some stuff, I might be able to pick up the plasma cannons at that point and actually end up with a fairly decent early design. If I grab this as well, this is going to be another discount, or it's going to be a discount in the grid level tech, the second bar, which means if one of these improved hulls come up, I'll only be paying 3, which is the minimum. So I think that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and take an action doing this. That's all right. So that's going to be my first action, grabbing this power source, which I'm pretty sure we will put to good use at some point. So what was White doing? Oh, they're just thinking. Ah, they're grabbing a tech. They've grabbed the plasma cannon. There's still one more in there, plus a few more options down the road. Of course, if I'm going missiles, I don't really have to worry about the plasma tech. Going missiles, I don't have to worry about the power source. But all right, so the other plasma cannon did go. But that's all right. We'll figure something out there. Some will probably come up again. So Red is exploring over here, found a system with 2 ships defending it, but it's a pretty good system. It's got the artifact, and it's got up to 4 colonizable places if you get the increased tech. Now, it is worth noting, so over here in the research track, these are the 3 techs that are required to be able to colonize advanced material, money, and science planets over here. So all those ones with the little dot. It's worth noting because we're all human, we all actually have the same exact starting system. I have an advanced money planet and an advanced science planet over here. There's also an advanced material planet here that I have access to. There's also another advanced money planet over here. I think getting the advanced money tech is actually going to be very valuable. Luckily, there's 3 over there, so almost guaranteed I can grab one at some point in the future. So that will be very, very tempting because we should be able to make good use out of that. Okay, what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to... I know I want to build some ships at some point. I mean, I don't have to do it now, but I only have so many influence dots. I think I'm going to go ahead and build now. That's going to be all right. I'm going to build in this system here, and I'm going to build a dreadnought, which costs 8 material. And I'm going to build again here. When you take the build action, you can build 2 ships. Unless you're the mechanoids or whatever, they get to build 3. So I'll build an interceptor, which costs 3 material, which is all I have left. There's no maintenance cost for ships at all. So we've done that. So now I actually have 3 interceptors total, or sorry, 2 interceptors total, and the 1 dreadnought, or the dreadnought, as I like to say. Oh, that's a very tempting system. 2 of these are advanced planets, so that'll be good later on, but not quite yet. The star here on the shield represents that this is an artifact system, and there is a technology you can grab right here, which will give you +5 to a resource for every artifact in a sector that I believe you control, not an entire game. All right, so I effectively have 1 more influence disc to spend, but in practice, if I were to claim this system and put a money person on this white planet, then it would pay for itself successfully. So I'm going to go ahead and be okay with that, because I'm going to use 1 token right now, which in theory will be all I can do to activate my move command. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this dreadnought into here. And I'm not sure about the interceptors. You know what? Let me cancel out of here for a second. What is the initiative of this? This ancient cruiser has an initiative of 2. My ships, and your ships go in order of initiative. My interceptors do have an initiative of 3. No, they'll likely get destroyed. I could consider an upgrade action to give them some armor so they don't get one shot, but I don't really have enough moves for that. The question is, how confident am I that the dreadnought solo is going to be able to take this thing without any upgrades? Maybe I don't take it this round. Maybe instead of moving, I just do an upgrade action, but I don't really have any good upgrade actions other than just, I suppose I can put the regular hull in there. So the way a ship normally works is 1 hit will destroy a ship. But for every point of hull it's got, it can soak 1 point of damage. So my dreadnought has 2 hull over here, which means it takes 3 shots to destroy it, right? 1 for each point of hull, and then 1 more time to kill it outright. Interceptors have no hull by default, so I can do that. The big deal with the improved hull, and why it's so good early on, is because each one of these is worth 2 hull points, and you can make much, much, much tankier ships. I really want this system, but I'm actually worried that rushing this would be a bad idea. Although my dreadnought can probably take it. I could spend an upgrade action. So just theoretically, when you do an upgrade action, you can remove any components from ships if that you've added. These are all the base components, but you can also add up to 2, and this can include overriding it. So right now my dreadnought has, say, 3 total energy. Okay, that's from this nuclear source, provides 3 energy. Each one of these things with a little lightning icon is using an energy here. So our nuclear drive and our 2 ion cannons are using 3 energy. You can see I'm at 3 of 3. If I were to go and drop this here, then I would have a 6 energy source. So I'd have more room for stuff. And I could do a few different things with it. I could add an extra, what do they call them? Electron computer, which is +1 to hit. Very, very good to get some pluses to hit. I could add another gun instead. All right, so then I'd get 3 shots. Each one of these would currently normally need... the way combat works is you roll a 6-sided die for each weapon, and you need a 6 to hit. Although for every sort of computer that you've got giving you pluses, then that can help. So right now, I need 5s to hit. Or if I got another electron computer, I would need 4s to hit. So the question is 3 guns with a 1/3 chance better than 2 guns with a 50-50 chance? I think statistically that comes out to the same expected value. Or is it better just to survive a little bit of extra damage short term? It's a big question and one that I don't really have an answer for. I could go and add nuclear drive to get more initiative and more movement, so I go first. I don't think any of these are very strong. What I think I'm going to do, even though this is likely going to cost me material, is I'm going to go ahead and kind of sort of just YOLO in here. I'm going to go in here with the Dreadnought and the 2 interceptors. Almost certainly I will lose some material, which is not good. But I'm really keen on taking the system. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So that's the end of my turn. I will now be passing from now on. And when the round is over, combat will be dealt with at that point. Resolve, that's the word I'm looking for. And then we'll talk about the combat mechanics a little bit more. So you're exploring some more. Oh, that's a nice system. Anything which got 2 planets that you can get a bonus from right away is really nice. And I really like this system with the fact that this one is white, which is going to give me some flexibility there, although I will have to take money early on to pay for it. But it's still going to give me a little extra science going forward, which is wonderful. All right, here's my turn again. And I'm going to go ahead and just pass at this point. And it will take a disc to play here, which could put me, will put me in the -7 level, which right now for me is red. Again, as it's someone else's turn, I'm looking at their turn here. Right now it would be red, but it will pay for itself. So there we go. So everyone has passed at this point, so now it's battle time. Ancients are defending. I am attacking. The big deal with that is you do go by order of initiative, so my fighters here will go first. If there's a tie, defenders go first in that case. So I'm going to go ahead and attack with my fighters. So each one of them has 1 shot. So they're each going to shoot once. They're each going to roll the dice, and they have no computers to increase their accuracy. So they would only hit on a 6. I rolled a 4 on both of those, so that's not going to do anything. Now these guys are going to shoot. And apparently they have missed, which is good. You can also retreat your ships. But we're going to attack here. We get 2 shots. We actually hit on a 5 here. And nothing happens. And then a new combat round. We're going to fire here. You're going to fail again. Oh, he's very demoralizing. If this guy rolls any hits, he's going to start killing my fighters. Or my interceptors. Which is why I was thinking about not bringing them in. But... you know what? We're just going to keep going with this and hope. Come on. There we go. There's our first hit. So you can just assign this way. So that'll be assigned there. What's weird is, as far as I can tell, after you've assigned everything, there's no button to just go. As far as I can tell, I guess you just hit the auto-assign. It'll auto-assign whatever's left. You can also just hit auto-assign. Like in this case, obviously, nothing could possibly screw up. If I get really lucky, we'll hit here. Nope. Just shy. And hopefully this guy doesn't kill my other interceptor. Although, I was going to say, the odds are not in my favor, because he's got a +1, so he hits on 5s and 6s and does have 2 shots. So now we're hitting on the same odds back and forth. Both of us have +1 to hit, both of us have 2 ion cannons, but I have 3 total health, and he only got 1 left. So we'll roll our attacks here, and there's a hit. We rolled a 5, so we'll finish him off. So I did lose both interceptors, kind of as expected, and it does suck, because that's 6 resources down the drain. But I really wanted to guarantee that. So, I don't know. And I want to make, because I could have gotten really unlucky and lost my Dreadnought. Because it would have been, again, same chance to hit. That Ancient Defender and my Dreadnought, exact same offensive potential, and I would only have 1 extra hit point. And I didn't like those odds. So I'd rather sacrifice a little bit of material early on to do that. It's probably dumb, but there you have it. Okay. When you end the battle, depending on what you did, you get to draw a certain amount of victory tokens out of a bag here. So you get 1 for participating in battle. As long as you didn't end up retreating with all of your units, you get 1 token no matter what, whether you won or lost. You also get extra tokens for destroying various things, depending on what they are. So I'm getting 1 token here for destroying this ancient, 1 for the battle itself, so I get 2 tokens range from 1 to 4. I actually got really lucky with these token draws. So we're going to close that, but what's quite interesting here, oh, didn't actually put it on my thing here? That's not even me. Okay, we'll look at it later on. I get to choose now. I'll talk about the influence tokens in a second, or the victory point tokens in a second. I get to choose if I want to influence the system or not, and you can see if I influence this, it's going to put me in the -7 red, but that's okay. So I'm going to hit okay here. Ancient Discovery. I can either take one of the cheapest discoveries on the research track, or 2 victory points. Here, it's a no-brainer. I'm definitely taking the 2 victory points going forward. Very happy about that. All right, it is now my turn because we're just dealing with our planets. Now I should be able to take a look over here. There we go. The 2 victory points I took from the ancient technology, I think just gets set sort of aside or in a pile somewhere, okay? The other things over here, so these 5 slots, one of them is taken up by my diplomatic relationship with the red dudes over here. The other one here is 4 points, the 4 victory point token from that battle. And you may be saying, well, what happened? Didn't you draw a 4 and a 3? What happened to the 3? You only get to keep 1 token from battle. So drawing more tokens just gives you a better chance to get a higher point token. It does not actually, in and of itself, give you more points. So the 3 got discarded back into the bag. Does mean that as the game goes on, the bag starts to have fewer and fewer good tokens as people grab those, and starts to be mostly filled with 1s and maybe 2s. So anyway, I have to colonize, so I'm going to colonize the pink world over here for more science, which is nice. And the white world over here, I need to colonize with money, because that will make the -7 yellow, which means it's going to use all my cash, but I will no longer be bankrupt, which is going to be okay. If I had kind of crappier systems over here, I would be tempted to perhaps intentionally bankrupt one just to alleviate it. This one here is not giving me that much, but it is paying for itself with the white, because the green one, again, I cannot use quite yet because I don't have the advanced tech. But I probably will at some point because I'm going to be planning on taking either this system or both of which have an advanced material planet. So it might be nice. Although, you know, am I going to have that much technology available? Who knows? Who knows? Oh, I think the whites have actually given up this system. They might not have been able to keep it. So they're down to 2. Wow, they're actually having quite a hard time. So if we take a look at the victory points right now, because the other players don't know the victory point I took from combat, they don't know if it's worth anywhere from 1 to 4. So I have anywhere from 11 to 14 points. I know that I've actually got 14, but this, you know, in a multiplayer setting, people wouldn't actually know what that is. So I'm actually off to a pretty good start. Ooh, there's some nice techs available here. And I am starting first, which is great because I did pass first. So again, that gives me first crack at the tech, but I only have 4 research points. And these are not high priority. So what this is, these are Gauss shields that gives your enemies -1 to hit against you. Note that a 6 always hits anyway. So really what the shields are good at are countering computers, which give you bonuses to hit. There you can see here there's a +2 computer, -2 shield. Here's a +3 computer. I think there's a -3 shield you can get from an ancient tech. This means I could build an extra ship when I take the build action. It's pretty cheap. This over here is a fusion drive, which lets me move 2 sectors for each move instead of just 1, which is nice. Also gives me more initiative, but costs more energy. I'm not interested in any of these techs right now, so I will not be taking the research action. I don't feel comfortable taking on the GCDS over here, Galactic Council Defensive System or something like that. It has a crazy 7 hull points, which means it actually needs 8 points of damage to kill. Has 4 guns. They're only at a +1, but it does have 4 guns over there, so very dangerous. I'm down to just the 1 lonely ship, which isn't great. I think we may take an exploration action. I'm tempted to go after this cruiser. It's only the 1. Maybe it's worth taking an action to upgrade this dreadnought after all. But again, really all I'd be doing is adding 1 thing to the slot. The other thing, though, is I could go and take an action, the other, because I can upgrade 2 things with the upgrade, right? Is I could put things on Starbase, but I don't... I guess I could put the higher drive in here and then put 1 armor in here for now, and then later on that drive is still there. And short term, that would give me 4 hits. So I'd have... This guy only has 2 hits. So I'd have twice as many hit points and exactly the same combat chance against the dudes over here. Although, again, here, these are 2 advanced planets that I won't be able to take advantage of. I could get money from here, which means that the system would pay for itself at least, and it would give me an ancient tech, which even if I don't keep this system, I get the bonus from that, you know, the victory points or whatever. Let's see. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a cut in here. This video has gone on long enough. We're only in round 3. It's going to last at least a couple more videos. I hope you guys are enjoying this little game. Again, it is available on Steam, and it's not too expensive, but again, it's got all those caveats that the multiplayer experience is not supposed to be very strong. The board game itself, depending on what your currency is and how much your local gaming store or whatever third-party website you can purchase it at, you're going to pay somewhere from like $80 to $150 for this board game because it's got a lot of components. But it is very, very, very good. Thanks for watching. See you next time.